Welcome back to College Football 26, episode 34. We have moved into a new direction. We have 5 offensive linemen. 6 if you count the tight end. 7 if you count the defensive end that have been drafted in one single draft class. We, just a couple seasons back, had a rate of 1 lineman drafted every 3 to 4 years. 1 every 3 to 4 years. Not 7 or 6 or 5, however you want to count that. An incredible class. 9 in all have been drafted, including a couple of first rounders. And not a one of them is a 7th round, final round draft pick. And really all but one were in the first 4 rounds. Incredible stuff. Certainly worth a lot of XP for our head coach in his development, but it's also a massive crater of talent to retool and refill. There's a big vacuum that we've got to replenish. Just getting started on the off-season recruiting, but an update on how things went, because I did have a different approach this season, and that was focusing entirely on the 4-star guys. Didn't even offer scholarships to 3-star guys initially. From a full class of 4 stars, we got most of our initial set of guys, and in the end, 7 4-stars have already signed with us. Now, until about a year ago, that would have been a huge number. Now that's still just okay. Last year, I think we had a dozen in the end, but a good amount of those being transfers. Beyond that, what we're still in competition for is we have 3 guys that we're coming down to the wire on. Of course, you get that big reset, so it's not showing any progress here now on where we're at, what's been happening. You can see we've got 3 that we are leading the way and close to commit status on, and I think 1 in Blair probably is going to need the visit here and now, which pro potential is what he cares about the most. But that's 3 additional that could get us up to 10 on the 4-star high school recruits for the year. Then, once I exhausted all those 4 stars and there were no 5 stars available to us this season, I still have to play things much the same way. I have been more inclined to take on some battles, but we've lost a good amount of those. So we're still on the edge of being able to beat others without a massive head start. But it's close. It's tight. Our grades still aren't that great, despite the improvements we've made. But let's say we get all 3 of those. That's 10 4-stars. Then I got into the 3-star recruits later on, and because we made such rapid progress and I had extra hours as we have been leveling up our stars, we actually did pretty well on the 3-star front. A lot of them are already secure, deep into that top 5 to top 3 range, and some even closer, and 3 signatures already among 3 stars. So we actually have 10 signed so far for our class. But you can see this guy's close to committing. I'm not even sure I need to put any hours into them because they are so far ahead of any chasers. Except for this one who is being chased, so I'm putting the hours in. But he's also getting close to signing. We've got a visit coming this week, so it should play in pretty well to make things happen, quickly with him. A couple others here are pretty secure until you get down to these ones that did have some competition. I don't think I was putting 50 hours into them though, so that's a sign of, hey, we could and should be able to make this happen. That's 22 so far, high schoolers. We got 13 spots now to go after, nothing but transfer targets, and we've got 565 hours left at this point, and I think we'll even have a little bit more freed up. So it's looking pretty good that we could do well with this transfer market, and if we sign another 5 or 10 4-stars, we are looking at an incredible class of 17 to 20-ish 4-star recruits. So we still have the potential to have this be a record-breaking class for us. cracked the top 10 last year in ninth. I'm hoping to push that up a little bit higher this year. No 5 stars though, so it's going to be really hard to necessarily crack that top 5. But a really good, solid 4-star recruiting class. And most of the 3 stars were like the top 3 stars anyway. Not all of them were, but most of them were. All makes for a really good class coming in to help replace all those guys that just headed off to the NFL. Almost all 4 stars that we're targeting for week 1, after giving a scholarship offer to each of them, I have exactly 500 hours left, which is a great balance right now. That's enough to go all in on 10. There's 13 here. So either I can go half in on a handful and get a good balance for all of them, or I pick and choose who my targets are and give us a chance to, get that head start, get that lead, to be able to get signatures across the line for a decent amount of these guys. We do add a commit, 4-star defensive tackle, Batoitua. That was the next 3 4-star guys, Batoitua, the first one there, and we are close to the signature on the other 2 without the competitors getting close, so we should be able to secure those both this week, it would look like, and that does make 10 4-star high school recruits secured. Definitely the best class we would have had have had in that category out of the high school anyway. Quick look at the results from the others, the transfers, beginning with sophomore law number 2 national recruit. We're the only ones after him. Looks like we're going to get his signature. That's fantastic. Number 1 running back out there. All in Oregon's still ahead of us. I think that's pretty obvious that we're not going to get Lockett's signature. There's only so much you can do, and I don't think we're ever going to be able to overcome in all in Oregon or USC or BYU, who were top 5 in the country last year. So there's definitely going to be plenty to eliminate from this list, but here's another one that's looking good. It's only a 3-star in Kidder, but happy to have him. Number 126 nationally, and still, even then, the number 1 tight end in the transfer class. This, not looking great, but we did pull more than LSU or Colorado this week, so we may have a chance here at Manzo, but it's probably not looking great. The faster we can get to a hard sell, the better. We're definitely going to need a visit to make something happen with this guy. We know that playing time is what he cares about, so adding in a visit for Manzo could really help us. Otherwise, that one's probably going to be a loss, but got to go for it at this point. Summary. We've got 4 guys, 2 of them 4 stars, 2 of them 3 stars, that we were the only ones in week 1 going after them. So we're looking really good to get those particular signatures continued on with the 50 hours for now as we progress. Then we have 3 that there's competition for that I feel like we have a shot at, and it's worth continuing on. So the first here, Manzo, we already talked about. Then we have one where it's just us versus Texas, and we seem to have pulled ahead for the time being. Doesn't mean we're going to stay ahead. They might not have been going in 50 hours. But these are 3 where a visit can go a long ways to pull yourself a little bit further ahead and, maybe, just maybe have a shot. Then we have Vaughn's, who's another one that's just pushed into that top 5 category. So it's us versus Michigan. We did have a head start. Michigan kind of came out of nowhere to be in this one, but it's 1v1, giving us at least a decent shot for those 3. We do have more signatures here. Week 2, 4-star wide receiver Daly, and 3-star strong safety Cole. Another signature, 4-star wide receiver Blair, 4-star right tackle Manzo. Before even getting into what recruiting I have left to do here in the final week, 15. We've had 15 signatures already, which means now I'm only looking at 20 guys. It makes it a lot easier to divvy up those hours when we've already got so many signatures out of the way. There's been so many times in past seasons when our prestige was low, the ratings were low, the hours that we had were low. That combination, we'd have 1 to 3 or 4 signatures at this point and still be trying to work the other 32 and make sure we stay ahead or pull ahead, whatever the case may be, to get signatures over the line. This is a very different place to be in, and it feels good. Right now, there's 2 recruits that are really close to going either way. One, we have Texas behind us. We just had our visit in week 3, which allowed us to pull ahead of Texas, but their visit is week 4. They're going to regain ground. How much ground, though, is dependent. The other thing, though, that's really helping me out is that through deduction, playing style is his deal breaker. I already know that Coach Prestige is in. There's only one combination that has both of those, and it adds in Conference Prestige, which is one of our unchecked areas. So that combination only occurs once, which means I'm able to hard sell even though we don't know for sure the interest process of elimination. So I'm going to be able to get a better pitch out of this week, and I'm hoping that that's going to be enough to hold off Texas. That one's going to be really close. Vaughn's, same sort of deal. It was not last week that we had our visit. It was back in week 2. Michigan is gaining some ground. They're not far behind, and they're going to have a visit. But same thing, I was able to get our hard sell pitch, which has a couple A's and then a C plus on the brand exposure. We're making some progress on the brand exposure here finally. Program tradition has also finally broken into a C minus kind of category. It's amazing how long it's taking to get some of those grades up. But beyond that, everything's looking pretty good otherwise. In fact, enough so to the point that I might not even have to really do much with these guys. Here's my 35th. I've only had to throw out one who locked us out, and that one being the best player on the board. Well, I already had too many wide receivers, and he decided that he wasn't going to get playing time, so he didn't want to sign. But that's one 3-star right edge junior who I just need to throw 50 hours at. And here I am with 220 hours still to divvy up, and there's not that many places for it. Good position to be in. Really, there's only 2 that I'm in risk of, and 3 if you count mowing here, that might not get enough on the board, but transfers generally come a little bit easier with that, especially with 50 hours. We have not secured all 35. Manzo went to Colorado. Okay, I didn't see that one coming. Page went to Texas. He snuck through and got us in week 4. Vaughn's went to Michigan. Those 2 I saw. Manzo going to Colorado? I don't see how that one happened. He locked us out. He locked us out at the last moment. We were way ahead at Colorado. So we're going to get 32 out of 35. And only 2 of those transfers ended up being 4-star guys. And so that knocked us down a peg. We ended up with 12 4-stars and 23 stars. Matching what we had a year ago. Forcing us all the way down to 21st in the recruit rankings. That hurt. That was the last one to Colorado, locking us out like that when we were miles ahead of them. That definitely hurt. 4 athletes this season to distribute into positions. On to those ever important training results. And we open with a 95 for our wide receiver skill. It's only +1 from last year, but I'm assuming that's because he has maxed out. We have a 92 in our transfer running back, who is a junior, Nate Law. We get 2 years of this guy unless he goes into the draft. He's a 94 overall. We've got a corner at 93, a right guard at 91. Remember, we have a ton of linemen to replace in terms of quality. A 91 certainly helps with that. Behind him, I can see an 87, but we do drop into the 80s from there. So only 4 players at 90+. This is not going to be the team that we've had this last year. This is going to be a little bit of a rebuilding year. Lots and lots of high 80s, mid 80s though, and we are near the bottom of the list at an 80. So that part's a good sign. And behind them, a lot of young guys in the high 70s, and there's your entire bottom of the roster. 2 players still in the 60s. Stoke as a sophomore, that's a bad sign for this guy. I think he's one that I can maybe part ways with, free up a spot for somebody else, but it's not like I officially have spots that I need to worry about, as we don't have a maximum to our roster. The big thing is about playing time, but if they're better than a 67, they don't worry about this guy. A redshirt freshman, 69 overall for a strong safety, but otherwise we instantly push into 70s, and only 3 of them are below 75. So in the player by player or position by position category, Tramer's now an 88. He's a senior this year. Then we have Law at 94 and quality behind him. Fullback, we have a 78. That might be the best we've had at fullback. Wide receiver, a 95 and 83, and then high 70s. Definitely not the depth we've had in past years, but there's obvious still quality. 3 tight ends at 80 plus, and 2 of them are young. Left tackle did not top 80. Left guard, 3 guys did, which means somebody will push over and play in that left tackle spot, I'm sure. 87 at center, 91 at right guard, and 2 80s. And a lot of low 80s at right tackle. So realistically, what we're looking at is an offensive line of low 80s across the board, and then 1 really good guy. That's not going to be playoff caliber, but that's still going to lead to a good record. Left edge in 89 and a couple of 80s. Right edge, a lot of low to mid 80s. Defensive tackle in 88 and in 83. Strong side 85. Middle, lots of 80s. Same for weak. 93 at corner and an 85, but not as much depth as in years past. We got a few young guys coming in, a few true freshmen. Free safety looks good though. No seniors, everybody's in the 80s. Strong safety, couple seniors. There's your worry. You're going to have a drop off next year, but you just move one of those free safeties over and we're fine. Kicker, we have a freshman in each class. I have not recruited kickers and punters as much recently. We've got quality. We're fine. No glaring holes on the roster. It's a good team. But the line in particular puts so many guys into the NFL that there are some big shoes to fill, and they have not filled those shoes. We are going to drop a size in the offensive line. 94 overall, 12th in the preseason rankings, and we open up against a top 10 team on the road. BYU, 8th in the nation, 13-2 a year ago. That's going to be a really difficult game to come away with a win. Certainly could be a possibility, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. And then Arkansas State, FCS Northwest, before you then get into the conference starting week 4. Kennesaw State comes later. That's definitely an easy one. They were 2-10 a year ago. So we have one difficult non-conference game. We do get Tulane on the road. Their preseason ranking is 19th this year. Our conference schedule actually looks pretty dang easy this season, with the exception of Memphis at home, 8-5, and then East Carolina. So 3 of our last 4 conference games are going to be challenging. We could easily pick up 1 or 2 losses in those 3. I've pulled my first 15 recruits just from the state of Ohio, where we have the pipeline advantage. Definitely makes it easier. I've still been doing that process here all along. The big notable thing, though, is you can look at this first part of the list, and there's only 2 guys that have deal breaker issues, and that's the advantage of the better grades that we have. It's so much easier to recruit targets that we want than it used to be. Boy, this BYU matchup is tough. I was hopeful that we were going to be ahead in terms of the overall comparison, and we're not. we're level, if not behind. Plus, we're on the road, so we're definitely behind. Top 12 matchup, but BYU's got to be the favorite here. It was a close loss, but it's still a loss. So we opened the season 0-1, and it's going to be a little more difficult to bounce back and keep up that championship contender. Though we should, in theory, win our next 7 games quite easily. Settling in on 23 targets here early on in the season with a couple of 5-star guys. We have competition with Ohio State right behind us, and we are not pulling. We pulled a little bit away from them, but I'm guessing that they're not using all 50 hours. They have a huge pipeline tier advantage. We're both Ohio programs, and they've just got advanced pipelines. So I'm guessing they're probably only using 25 hours. Very good chance that we're losing this one, but for now we'll see if they back off. And then we have Monty, who we just started recruiting this week because he had no offers from any top programs. So we're going to try to sneak in and get him. And in 1 week, we've got him onto the list. And by next week, he'll be number 1 and down to a top 8, eliminating a few schools. So maybe, just maybe, he can process of elimination his way into being a signature we can get. And then it's 21 4-star guys after that. 12 overall, so 10 4-stars that we are currently targeting. And in the case of all but 2 of them, it's uncontested. So we should very much be able to get the signature of most of these guys. Gallo is the only one coming off of the list. And then from that 13 to 23, we're already number 1 on the list of nearly all of them. Until you get down to literally the final guy, Moon. Well, we've rebounded well. Arkansas State 49-20, FCS Northwest 44-10, UTSA 47-14. Notable thing here, though, is we never topped 50 points, even against FCS Northwest. That's not normal for us. So even though we have a 94 on offense, I think our offensive line is not quite giving us the push we need. We have a lot of skill positions, talent, and we have a decent offensive line, but it's not a dominant offensive line, kind of like Oregon this year, right? The only reason why they lost to Indiana is the offensive line that replaced a ton of talent, 4 new starters this year. They're good players, but they're not the 4 guys that they replaced, and it showed against Indiana where they couldn't get enough of a push. And while there was plenty of talent in the skill positions, quarterback couldn't get any time, running back could only get 3-4 yards a carry. It just wasn't enough. They moved the ball, they got plenty of yards over the course of the game, but they couldn't be consistent. And that might be our issue this season. So we actually have a little bit of a challenge coming up. North Texas is 3-1. Charlotte's 500. Kennesaw State's 3-0. There's actually a few good teams coming up. Memphis not having a great season, but Florida Atlantic's 3-1. East Carolina's 3-1, and Tulane, of course, is undefeated. They're ranked above us right now at 14th. We are currently 22nd. First signature of the year is a 4-star wide receiver in Sharp. We also add another one this week, right guard Pape or Pape. And, we keep going, Rousseau, right tackle, 4 stars. Well, North Texas didn't end up offering much of a challenge, 58-27, and then 62-13 against Charlotte. Now the offense is starting to show what it's capable of. Maybe I spoke too soon on where our offensive line is at, but Kennesaw State is still undefeated, 5-0 for our next game. These days, I tend to wait a little bit longer on redshirting. I haven't redshirted anywhere near as much in the last few years because so many players automatically, as freshmen, aren't getting the time. They aren't buying. They're not getting games, so the red shirt happens automatically. Remember, you can play up to 4 games and still get a red shirt. I used to have to manually force the issue. The reason why I don't force it now is if they're good enough to play, I want them to play. And they're going to develop within that 4 years anyway, and they're probably, if they're that good, they're probably going to end up going in the draft at some stage anyway, and possibly before their senior year, or at least by that senior year. They're not going to be a 5-year kind of player if they're that talented. So I worry a lot less about what happens there. What I do worry about is what happens when you start to get some games due to injuries. You move up the depth chart, we have a blowout situation, and you start to play. I don't want to lose the red shirt in those kind of scenarios where somebody ends up playing 5 games, 6 games. Here's one of those borderline ones, but we're talking about a 76 overall defensive tackle. That's exactly what I'm talking about with, hey, guy's actually pretty talented. He's going to play. He deserves to play. We got a 77 overall wide receiver who played last year. This year, okay, fine, he's only got 3 catches. He's not playing a ton, but it's keeping him happy that he's getting an opportunity to play. And he's going to be well into the 80s next year, so it's not a big deal. And that's the point. If they're good enough to have played in all 6 games, and this is where I now check in first. It used to be at the 4-game mark, and it was like, oh, I got to redshirt somebody because now they're at the 4 games. Well, I figure if they've played in all 6, they're too talented to redshirt anyway. So I wait till now to see where they're at, and these guys are all talented enough, and then I go back and look at, well, okay, who's close? Who's got that 2, 3, 4 kind of mark? And we have 2 guys that have played 2 games. Everybody else is at 0. So now I only have 2 players to pay attention to, both defensive tackles. One of them, not good. We can absolutely make sure that he redshirts. The other one is very talented. He's a 76 overall. He wants to play. He should play. He's injured. That's the only reason why he's not. He only got 1 tackle, only played 2 games. He's not playing that frequently. So depending on how long it takes him to come back from that injury, maybe I do, after all, need to redshirt this guy and save it for another year. That also depends on the deal breaker, which is coach prestige, not playing time. So I'm okay with that. Conference prestige for this guy. He's probably only playing because this one's hurt. So I think I can afford to, in a couple games, come back, check again, and if he's sitting at 4, go ahead and redshirt him. Somebody else who's probably even more talented will end up getting the opportunity to play. And then later in the season, as this guy gets healthy, if we get late enough into the year and he's just reached 4, I'll go ahead and redshirt him, but otherwise I'll let him play if he gets healthy quick. Kennesaw State's only a 61 overall, even though they're 5-0. We're going to win that game, especially at home. Here's an example of how I'm doing things slightly differently this season to try to make sure we win these battles. I got in on this cornerback before anybody else, but Georgia, you can see, is making some rapid progress. Now, I've been sending the house, so 50 hours. I've just now, this week, been able to break down what his top 3 are. And so with that, we can now go for the aspirational goals. Hard sell for the 40 hours, which is basically the equivalent of the 50, or with a good grade, even better than the 50. Now you add 10 hours on top of it, so we're able to progress a little bit faster. But you see Georgia's coming really fast, and we're only about to break top 3. Still got a ways to go to commit status. So to try to help get that over the line sooner rather than later, I scheduled a visit. His thing being Coach Prestige, we have an A+, so we should get a really good bonus. Now the only thing we're not going to get, though, is a huge bonus for the game. It's UAB. Memphis is a week later. However, Memphis is a tougher team. I'm not giving us a better bonus because we are now better than Memphis in prestige. I think they're 2.5 or 3. So the gain is the same either way. Take the easy game, the sure win. It's sooner, it's earlier. It's going to push us towards that commit, and hopefully, fingers crossed, get him across the line before Georgia gets close enough to make it a battle. If they make it a battle, clearly they are the better one. They have the pipeline bonus. They have better coaches. They're going to get him over the line first if there's a recruitment battle. So we've got to get his signature quickly. Hopefully we can do so. We'll keep an eye on that one. That's Bryant, 4-star cornerback. More signatures, tight end, 4 stars, Babcock. And wide receiver, Cloud, 4 stars. Left guard, Mady. Cornerback, Bryant. We got him. We got him right here, right now. That was the guy we were going after. The big move to get there ahead of Georgia worked. And that suddenly freed up a lot of hours for us to go after some of the other guys. We've thinned the list down to the 20 targets that we've had since that week 2, but we are really starting to make some progress with the guys that we are after. Monty's looking really good, about to crack into that top 3, and nobody's on us. I think we're going to get there before anybody can. That's a 5-star wide receiver. Then we have a 4-star gem athlete who's about to commit. Then we do have the commitments of the next 4 guys. Dexter is about to commit here. Miami should be too far down. It'll be this week, so that's 2 guys about to commit this week. Then the next 3 that are already committed, and then we get outside of that top 10, where we get to Gallo, who we just made massive progress with a visit this week. He's on the verge of committing, possibly this week. And then we get down to the guys that we've only recently started targeting. That's 11 of our first 12 guys, and it looks like we're going to probably get all 11 of them. It was that 5-star contested Ohio State right on our tail who we couldn't keep up with, and actually he deal-breakered us on playing style for a week, and that put us out of contention. But other than that, 11 of the first 12 targets, with 10 of them being 4 stars and 1 of them 5 stars, is easily the best start to a recruiting season we've ever had. Then there's the next group that we are in great shape on. Quite a few of these guys already with those targets. We've got those hours, so Figueroa can now be pushed up to 50. Finding those hard sells has really helped. Figuring out that that was even a thing has really helped. Besides BYU, Memphis, toughest test we've had so far in the season, but they're only a 75 overall, 5-3. That should be a win, especially at home. But now that I've played those 2 additional games, wanted to check in, and Patoya Tua still has not played additional games. He's still injured. But for Jordan, he's played 1 more. He's only got 1 tackle. Before it's too late, I'm going to go ahead and redshirt him now, which means I can afford to go forward in time a bit and not have to worry about things. And if I check the player card, I can see how long this guy is injured. Broken wrist. He's out 1 more week. So in 3 weeks, I think I'm going to check and see where we're at on him. Monty, wide receiver, got his signature. We also add another wide receiver in Duggar. And a halfback in Dexter. Both 4-star guys. So that's first 10, all secure. Now that last one of the original 12 is moments away from that commitment, and I do think we are far enough ahead of Tulane here that they shouldn't gain enough ground on us. We should have his signature this week, but I'm going to keep those hours on just to be sure. Now at this phase, I have hours left over, and my entire list has everything that I can put into it. So room for more targets. Or I could do some scouting, spend some hours. But I have holes to fill. I have 0 middle linebackers, 0 strong safeties right now, 0 defensive tackles. Finding the best 3 stars now seems the best option, because the only 4 and 5 stars left that do not have an offer, every last one of them is a wide receiver. I have 6 wide receiver targets. We're not adding to that list. That list is crazy already. So I will need to move on to 3 stars, but we need to move on to the right positions. And I think I just named the 3 targets that I need to add for now. Another one, and it's Gallo. That's a good one. Free safety, 4 stars. Moment of truth, Tulane is undefeated. And we're on the road. They're only in 87 this year. The winner will obviously be in a very strong position to make the playoff, as both teams are in the top 12 right now, but we're also very clearly headed for a rematch in the conference championship in the near future. You lose both of those games, and you're probably missing the playoff. We split those games, there's a good chance we both make the playoff. The thing for us is if we lose the first one, we are once again going to be on the road at Tulane, making it that much harder. Checked in for a good little while there, but UAB, we beat them 42-30. Memphis was 42-34. Those 2 games were a lot closer than you would expect, but those were teams having good seasons. FIU is another team having a good season. 35-23. Not that comfortable, but we do beat Tulane 45-38. They barely drop in the rankings. They are still 14th, But again, they're going to have to play really well to make the playoff from here. There's only one regular season game left, and yeah, I don't see them getting back into the top 12 unless they can beat us in the conference championship. We've got the 1-1 part, but even then, we only moved up one spot. Tulane's spot, right? We were 12th, they were 10th. We beat them. We go up to 11th. The world didn't think that much of us from that one, and everybody else probably above them also won their games. So there was a chance, right, that I would think whoever wins the conference championship is going to make the playoff. Whoever loses the conference championship, if it's them, I definitely don't think they're making it. If it's us, it's not looking great. It's not looking great. They did not bump us up the rankings very much at all from getting that victory. Even East Carolina is not going to be the easiest. They're only 5-6, but they are a pretty quality team, and we are on the road for it. Here's where I can make that difficult call. I've got a defensive tackle, freshman. We're now 10-11. We've got one regular season game left, conference championship, and the playoff. But the guy's only made 2 tackles and 1 tackle assist. So in the 4 games he has played, he barely played. Now, if he hadn't been injured, there's a good chance that this kid will have played a lot more than he has. Coach prestige is what he cares about, so he's not going to be offended by redshirting, and this is going to make him better for next year. So we will redshirt this kid. And I've got a right edge who's worried about playtime. This is going to help free up some playtime for him. More signatures, 4-star quarterback Fajardo, Ramsey, and we've jumped to 7th now in the rankings. Suddenly, losing the conference championship feels like we would still make the playoff. We're 11-1, first in the conference. We get to host, and of course it's us versus Tulane, and somehow they've jumped to 8th. Their loss being to us, not hurting them much in the rankings, but really not hurting them much in the rankings as they've bounced back to 8th already. I had some leftover hours, didn't want to add more to the list. We're already at 24 targets as it is. I want to use the transfer market to fill in the gaps. We're already down to the 3-star guys anyway, and this is where you don't want to see a bust. A 3-star weak side linebacker who's a bust means he's only actually a 2-star, meaning even though we're about to have the commitment, we're taking him off the list. We are not going to waste one of our scholarships on a 2-star player. Moment of truth, this time we do get to play at home, and we beat them before, but it's always hard to beat a team twice. But now that we're at home and they are carrying the disadvantage and we're healthy, you would think we should be able to come out on top, but it's definitely not one of those 90% or 100% kind of scenarios. It's probably more like 60-40. We've got this game. We did not get it. We dropped to 11-2. It was 41-33. So they scored a very close amount of points each time. They got 38 the first time, 41 the second time. It was our offense that didn't show up today with essentially 2 less touchdowns. We lose by 8 points. Tulane's up to 4th in the country. They are going to get a bye in the playoff, but we only dropped to 11th. So like I said, if we split, we've still got a decent chance, and it looks like we might just make the playoff. More signatures, 4-star right edge Figueroa. The Heisman goes to a quarterback out of Tennessee with 4,000 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 69% pass completion percentage. And we are in the playoff as the 11 seed. We're going to take on Pitt. Pitt is an 88 overall, but they have home field advantage for this game. I'd say we're probably the ones with a 35-40% chance of getting the victory, meaning that's certainly not impossible. But we begin and end our season with losses. 1 at the beginning, 2 at the end. We lose the conference championship. We lose the playoff game, all close, but 34-28. We have been knocked out of the playoff, even though it's obviously not our deepest run. It's still an 11-win season. It's still going to be us in the top 15 of the rankings at the end of the year, probably in the top 12. Therefore, the progress we made without gaining a star last year, even though we had a better year, we should get it this year. Like I said, I believe we would have gone from barely 3-star to almost 3.5. So we should be able to barely get to 3.5 this year, or comfortably get to 3.5 this year. One would think. We had a strong strength of schedule too, with 98 and 68 combined records for our opponents. Of course, Tulane adds to that a fair bit, with 24 and 2 being their combined. Not completing, just getting another tier. Tier 3 for our talent developer. We finally leveled up. It's so hard to level up these days. It takes a full season or more to get a level up. But this will get a starting offensive lineman. Will gain XP faster. I have picked up that half-star. We are now a 3.5-star program. That's going to help. That is going to help. It's the bracket with Louisville upsetting Michigan, Ohio State losing to Tennessee. We lose to Pitt. Oklahoma State lost to Auburn. So only one upset in the first round. In the quarterfinals, Louisville again with the upset, beating Tulane, crushing them 49-17. Tennessee upsetting Clemson. Pitt upsetting Miami. And Auburn losing to Oregon. In the semis, it's Louisville upsetting Tennessee, 12 seed, going all the way to the championship game. Pitt upsetting Oregon 49-28, and it is Pitt, the team that beat us in the first round, that wins the national championship by beating Louisville 41-13. Not even close. In fact, most of the games were not close. And the brief, quick overview, top 25, we do finish the season ranked 11th. But that extra half-star is going to be very valuable for us. It's going to make a big difference in recruiting in those battles. And we've already had ourselves an incredible recruiting class, the best we've ever had so far. And enough to the point where I barely went after any 3-stars, and I'm already like, gosh, I feel like I need to back off on a couple of these guys. And I have backed off. I've been able to go in and scout them further and find out more information, finding a bust in there, setting ourselves up for a transfer market where we can put all of our hours, or most of our hours, into it to get signatures. We haven't gotten all the guys we went after this year, but we did an incredible job going after them. And now we have another half-star, raising grades further, giving us more hours. It's going to be easier and easier and easier to get these big-time recruits and get a bigger, better class year after year after year. I think we should consistently start getting recruiting classes in the top 10 and retention of players, and we're not going anywhere, folks. We are going to be contending every single year. We should be in the playoff almost every single year. And it's only a matter of time until we win a championship. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.